Friday the 13th wasn't just a horror film, it was a simple camp story that turned into one of the most shocking slashers ever made. But behind the scenes, things were even stranger. The title was advertised before they even owned it. The killer actress only took the role to buy a car, and the famous lake scare wasn't even in the script. These are 10 creepiest facts about Friday the 13th, and hidden in its calm waters is a jump that terrified audiences forever. Number 1. The lake scare that wasn't in the script. The most famous scene in Friday the 13th almost never happened. In the script, the story ended with Alice drifting safely in the canoe, a quiet ending after a night of chaos. But makeup wizard Tom Savini thought the movie needed one last jolt. He suggested a sudden jump scare, a deformed Jason leaping from the water. The crew loved the idea, and it was filmed right before production wrapped. The boy in the lake was played by Ari Lehman, who fought hard to get the part. That single late addition turned the ending from calm to legendary, and it's still one of the most shocking moments in horror history. Number 2. The killer took the job for a car. Betsy Palmer, the actress who played Mrs. Voorhees, never expected to become one of horror's most iconic villains. When she first read the script, she thought it was garbage and almost turned it down, but at the time she needed money to buy a new car. 10 days of filming later, she had her car, and fans had a terrifying new villain. Palmer shocked everyone by transforming her friendly mom image into pure menace, making Mrs. Voorhees both believable and horrifying. Ironically, what started as just a paycheck became the role that defined her legacy in horror. Number 3. A title so bold they advertised it before owning it. The name Friday the 13th sounds perfect for a horror film, but at first the producers weren't even sure they could legally use it. To test the waters, director Sean Cunningham placed a giant ad in Variety magazine announcing the film before the rights were secured and before a single frame was shot. The ad showed the title smashing through glass, daring anyone to challenge it. If a lawsuit was coming, they wanted to know early. No one stopped them, and the risky stunt worked. The bold name stuck, and that glass-shattering logo became one of the movie's most memorable images. Number 4. Music that made the killer visible. The chilling score of Friday the 13th is just as iconic as its kills. Composer Harry Manfredini took inspiration from Jaws, where the shark was often unseen but always felt through music. He did the same by only scoring scenes when the killer was nearby, letting the sound act as an invisible warning. Then came the creepy whisper, ki, ma, ma, ma. It was Manfredini himself, recording a line from Mrs. Voorhees, "Killer Mommy," and twisting it with an echo effect. Fans often mishear it as chi, ha ha ha. But either way, the sound is unforgettable. Simple, cheap, and terrifying. It turned silence into dread and made the killer feel present even when she wasn't on screen. Number 5. The final girl almost was Sally Field. When casting the role of Alice, the last survivor of Friday the 13th, the producers aimed high. They first considered Sally Field, who was already a big star. But her price tag was far beyond the film's small budget. Instead, they found Adrienne King, an actress who wasn't famous but gave Alice a mix of sincerity and strength. That choice paid off. Audiences connected with her, rooted for her, and believed every moment of her fear. Alongside her was a group of unknown young actors, including a very young Kevin Bacon, who met one of the film's most gruesome fates. Looking back, it's wild to think that Hollywood almost gave us a very different final girl. Number 6. A real camp, a rock legend, and a real slap. The movie was filmed at a real summer camp in New Jersey, which made the setting feel authentic. But things behind the scenes weren't always smooth. During rehearsals for the big showdown, Betsy Palmer slapped Adrienne King across the face for real, not realizing stage fights are supposed to miss. King burst into tears, and director Sean Cunningham quickly explained the rules of movie fighting. Thankfully, they patched things up and delivered a brutal finale. And while all this was happening, rock star Lou Reed, yes, the Velvet Underground legend, lived on a farm next to the camp. He sometimes visited the set and even played music for the cast and crew. It was a strange mix, a low-budget slasher being filmed while a rock icon hung out just across the fence. Number 7. The Little Indie That Beat Giants. Friday the 13th was made for only about $500,000, yet it turned into one of the biggest horror hits of 1980. After a bidding war, Paramount released it in the US while Warner Brothers handled the international market. The poster, designed by Alex Ebel, showed teens in the woods framed inside the silhouette of a knife-wielding figure. Simple but striking, the gamble worked. The film made nearly $60 million worldwide, outgrossing big horror titles like The Shining and The Fog. Critics trashed it at the time, calling it cheap and unoriginal, but audiences loved it. Against all odds, a small independent slasher became a cultural giant. Number 8. The writer saw Jason as a victim. Screenwriter Victor Miller never imagined Jason Voorhees as the hockey-masked killer we know today. To him, Jason was a tragic child, a victim who drowned because camp counselors weren't paying attention. His real focus was Miss Voorhees, a grieving mother whose twisted love turned into rage. Miller said what fascinated him most was writing a story where the killer wasn't a stranger or a monster but a parent. As sequels rolled out, Jason became the main villain, wearing sacks, masks, and eventually going to Manhattan, space, and even fighting Freddy Krueger. But for Miller, the original was always about motherhood gone dark, more psychological than supernatural. Number 9. Inspired by Halloween. The idea for Friday the 13th didn't come out of nowhere. Director Sean Cunningham openly admitted he wanted to make his own version of John Carpenter's Halloween. He and writer Victor Miller had just finished lighthearted sports comedies, but they suddenly shifted gears to create a brutal slasher. The plan was simple. If Halloween could terrify suburban streets, then Friday the 13th would do the same in the middle of the woods. They traded football fields for a lonely summer camp and teenagers for camp counselors. That bold switch, from fun comedies to bloody horror, gave birth to one of the most legendary franchises in slasher history. Number 10. Life imitated the horror movie. Adrienne King, who played Alice, the final girl, faced her own nightmare after the film's release. A stalker began following her, leaving photos under her door and even confronting her at home. Thankfully, she wasn't harmed, but the experience left her shaken and pushed her to step away from the spotlight. For years, she kept a lower profile, working behind the scenes and doing voice acting. Decades later, she found the courage to return, appearing at conventions and celebrating the franchise that made her famous. Fans embraced her comeback, turning a painful chapter into a story of survival every bit as powerful as Alice's fight in the movie. At its core, Friday the 13th was never meant to be a Hollywood juggernaut. It was a small, risky film stitched together with bold choices, wild accidents, and last-minute ideas. A title advertised before it was owned, a killer cast for car money, a jump scare pitched at the 11th hour. Critics sneered, but audiences screamed and kept coming back. The legacy of Camp Crystal Lake isn't just Jason's mask or a mother's revenge. It's proof that even the scrappiest production can create legends if it dares to take risks. So next time you hear water ripple at night, remember the lesson of Crystal Lake.